It's my pleasure to get to announce someone that not only I have a great deal of respect for, but that I've become a very good friend with over the past couple of years. This is a guy who's probably forgotten more about sales and developing customers for life than most of us in this room will ever get to know. And he's going to be joined by 3 customer panelists that are going to share their journeys of sales excellence and sales transformation as well. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jim Steele to the stage.
Is this on? Can you guys hear me? Okay. Welcome to our panel. We have 3 very eclectic panelists to join us. We'll sit down. I'll introduce each one of them. Before I do that, the topic is around sales transformation and sales acceleration. And I've got 3 panelists, all with very different backgrounds. They're companies that they're part of. One is an 80-year-old company, one's a 35-year-old company, and one's a 10-year-old company, all at different stages of their sales transformation journey. So just to introduce myself, Jim Steele, President, Chief Revenue Officer here at Inside Sales. I've been here for about 15 months. I joined January of last year. I moved to Park City. I live about 5 miles from here up on the mountain. And it's just an amazing personal transformation that I've gone through. My 38-year career, I spent 15 years in New York, 3 or 4 in Los Angeles, 4 years in Tokyo, all of those years with IBM. Then I moved to Silicon Valley and spent about 16 years there with Ariba and Salesforce as President and Chief Customer Officer of Salesforce. So I've got my own stories about sales transformation and lots of change that I've dealt with over the years, but it's all about the panelists. So let me start by introducing our first panelist here. If we can pull up the slides. All right, we're going to get the slides while we're pulling the slides up because I think they're not. There we go. Okay. Well, we'll start with Oren. So, Oren. Oh, now we're back to Don. Okay, this is about change management. You have to embrace change, and you never know what's going to come at you, especially when you're up on a stage, right? So Don Cash is VP of Sales, Global Sales for BMC. And I love the story about Don. He was one of the first Siebel employees here in Utah in the late 90s, was part of the acquisition with Oracle, so went through that whole transformation. Then he joined Omniture, and Omniture was then acquired by Adobe. He was there for 10, 11 years. And has now been with BMC for about 14 months. So he's gone through a lot of change, a lot of transformation, and I'll have Don introduce himself and also BMC. So Don, over to you.
Thanks, Jim. And yes, Cash is my last name. I figured I had to either go into banking or sales, so I think I chose the right profession. I run global inside sales for BMC, and working for Siebel, I was selling really cool stuff. I mean, my whole career has been around selling stuff that I just love. And so selling control to control freaks with CRM, love that. And then at Omniture, selling, to marketers, I mean, that's a lot of fun. These guys are like really excitable, bright, shiny objects. And all of my sales transactions with online marketing folks was just a blast. And so here I am at BMC, and it's all IT department, selling to IT. And one of our taglines for our advertisements is, we bring IT to life. And that just cracks me up because I never thought I'd be selling to IT guys. But my career has always been based around trying to ride the waves of technology and B2B tech sales. And so when CRM was hot and everybody was adopting CRM, I was involved with that wave. When online marketing with Omniture started to take off, I jumped over there and rode that wave. And so why BMC? And BMC, I mean, the slide, the focus on the far right, our focus at BMC is to completely focus on accelerating the digital transformation in companies. And we went through, just like Inside Sales is leading the acceleration, the sales acceleration transformation. BMC had to go through a transformation internally as a company, and then we're also now leading the charge for companies and helping them become digital. So digital enterprise management is our focus with IT products. And the wave is because over the last 10 years or so, there hasn't been enough of an investment in IT departments, and those companies that have not made the transition, have not become digital, don't have a mobile play, they're becoming extinct, they're becoming dinosaurs, and you see this happen all day long. There's a significant amount of disruption in the market, so companies are now saying, oh man, I've got to get digital real fast, and so BMC was well positioned to take advantage of that. We're a 35-year-old company that started in mainframe software, and in fact, it's still one of our big cash cows, but we were a public company for many years, and we then got really dusty and didn't invest in we didn't transform as fast as we could have. So a lot of SaaS-based companies popped up and started to eat our lunch, and we had 22 consecutive quarters of declining revenues. Bain Capital came in and said, oh, wow, this is they still have 82% of the Fortune 500. They have 10,000 accounts. It's a $2 billion company. We're going to take this company private. So they bought us out, took us private, and now they've been dusting off the products, investing in marketing and leadership and people, and then also the products as well. So we've gone through our own transformation. I was brought in because inside sales was really kind of an afterthought, and they were contributing about 5% of the pipeline to the field. And over the last 14 months, we're now contributing into 24, 25% with the goal to get up to 35% this year. So I've hired 118 people this last year, and I have two groups, one for lead dev, and we support all the field sales organization worldwide and develop leads for them. And it's not just setting appointments. We actually run our own appointments, and then we pass them when it's actually a qualified opportunity that they put into their pipeline with a dollar amount. So we take our leads pretty far down the funnel to where they're actually qualified opportunities. And I also have about 100 people doing that worldwide. And then I have about 60 that are ISRs, and we focus on it's misleading to say the SMB or mid-market, because BMC as a company, a $2 billion company, is considered an SMB based on the way we've segmented our market. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. But it's been just a lot of fun. And so we consider this a 35-year-old, $2 billion startup, because new products, new leadership, new life, new excitement, and then riding this wave of digital transformations for companies has been a lot of fun.
It's pretty unbelievable. We'll come back to asking you questions about BMC, but I know a lot of the new leadership that you're working with. Paul Appleby, who I used to work with at Salesforce, and Dan Streetman from Salesforce. So it's this infusion of new talent that I know is part of the transformation that you're going through. So we'll come back and talk to you about that. Okay, moving down the panel here, Orrin Welch. Orrin is part of this company. He'll tell you about it. An 80-year-old company. He's been there for 27 years. He actually started when he was in college as a photographer for LifeTouch, and that's how he got into it. And now he's running global sales there, and has just a great story about transformation. You know, going from 27 years, how do you reinvent yourself, and how do you drive change within a company? So, Orrin, tell us a little bit about your background in LifeTouch.
Yeah, thanks. LifeTouch, largest professional photography company in the world. You know how to use that camera? Just kidding. We're pretty big. We're a North American company. Like Jim said, been there 27 years. My partner in crime up here said, you're not a tech company, you actually make something. And that's what we do. We actually make memories. I mean, we photograph from, what I always tell people, the Aleutian Island chain where you can see Russia all the way to Key West to the Maritimes and Canada. So we're all over the place. Let's click to the next slide there, Jim. So we photograph.
Whoops.
We went too far.
Yeah.
Over 40 million students photographed every year. That takes a lot of logistics to figure that out. 5,000 camera systems deployed every day. So if you think about that, I got literally every day I got 5,000 people driving all over North America trying to find a school building somewhere. LifeTouch is a we have multiple divisions. I work for the school division, which is our largest division, which is basically kindergarten through 12th grade and yearbooks. 290,000 pop-up events. So that's events that we go and set our cameras up somewhere in some room and actually execute picture day, if you will. So everybody had their school pictures taken at some point in time. That's what we do. Yeah, like Jim said, 80-year-old company and 650 outside sales reps, and that's how we go to market. And we'll talk a little bit later about some of the transformation that we need to go through in order to be successful going forward.
Great. Thanks, Oren. Thanks for joining us. And last but not least, Kent Percocha. Kent, I've known for 10 years. He's the Chief Customer Officer and co-founder of Apttus. And Kent was with Apttus. They were the first Salesforce App Exchange partner. And I was the exec sponsor for Apttus. So I knew them right from the start. And it was, I think, 2007 that I had Kurt Krapke, the CEO and Kent's co-founder, up on stage to present the first Appy Award from Salesforce to Kirk. And just an amazing growth story. This company has done just a great job. So Kent, tell us about yourself and also about Apttus.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jim. So I grew up in California. My family's been there 100 years and went to UC Davis. And my passion in my early life was maps. So I got into geography. And my first job out of college was selling computerized mapping software. And that got me into sales and progressively a variety of different sales positions, going to Oracle and other companies. But about 10 years ago, we decided we wanted to start a company. And we started Apttus, and the first thing people ask us is, what's with the name? How did you never heard of that word before, right? So we were sitting in Kirk Krapke's backyard when we started the company, and his nephew came up with some candidate names. And the one we settled on was Apttus, because it's two Latin roots, apt for aptitude or capability, and tus for speed or fast. And that's really the way we've operated the company since the get-go, deliver quality products fast. So a little bit about the company, about 1,200 people, 500 plus customers. We provide applications in what we call the quote-to-cash space, right? So we provide a series of applications called quoting, CPQ, contract management, and also billing. And we call these process applications. So it's a business process. And underneath that, we have what's called behavior applications. So if you can align the proper behaviors around the processes, you're going to get the right outcomes for your company, right? So we've got promotions, so it's going to recommend the right products, or also compensation. The sales rep can see what they're going to get paid on a quote, or rebates. So you can see if you're working with a distributor or a manufacturer, what kind of rebate they're going to get for selling the products. And underneath that, there's all the intelligence. So the intelligence tells you what products to sell to what customers for what prices. The key benefits are typically the same as you're going to be hearing here at Accelerate. You sell stuff faster, bigger deals, and we fit within the same type of process as inside sales. Inside sales tells you who to call, when to call. We tell you what to sell and who to sell it for what price. So my function in the company is really to help our customers get the most value out of their applications or their experience with Apttus, and help our sales team sell, right? And as Kirk kind of explained yesterday how we scaled the company, big thing is like, how do you scale the sales team? What are the issues that you're having? So I came out to this show last year, right? And I was an interested party. I wasn't even a prospect. The only thing I knew that inside sales is it tells you who to call, right? And I talked to a lot of customers. I talked to ADP. I saw Dave Elkington do a bunch of demos, and I saw demos in the booth. And I came back to the headquarters and said, guys, this stuff is incredible. It's really going to help us out. Anyway, we got it implemented. The inside sales team was great, and we're getting great benefits.
So while we're on you and Apttus, I mean, these guys talk about pivoting your business. They had a challenge. One of their smaller competitors was acquired by Salesforce earlier this year, right? And that kind of put you guys on your heels for a little bit. How did you guys respond to that? What was the reaction, and how did you pivot so quickly? In 6 months, it feels like you're stronger than ever and more optimistic than ever.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So definitely when it happened, it was definitely a little disturbing moment for us as a company. But in retrospect, we say that it was really a great thing that happened for us. Because number one, it allowed us to focus on companies that we think are going to get the most benefit of our applications, because we were spending a lot of time competing in markets that we probably weren't a good fit for a variety of different reasons. So number one. Number two, it really opened up our eyes for the possibilities of us as a company, right? So we were really tightly aligned with Salesforce as a go-to-market partner, as an application partner, and we realized that we really want to be our own cloud, right? We want to be providing our own applications on our own cloud, and that allows us to broaden our horizons, get greater market share, but we have the belief that everyone's entitled to quote-to-cash applications regardless of what type of CRM system. So we've been able to make our application available on other CRM systems. Microsoft is one of them, and plans to go to other ones. So it's really been a really enlightening experience, and it allows us to focus to get to where we want to be. And in speaking to our investors in Wall Street, they were always asking us, "You're only on one platform. How's that going to work?" This allows us to really address that and get bigger market share.
That's great. It's a great story. I mean, just in 6 months, actually less than that, like 5 months. I mean, I remember seeing some of the Apttus employees back in December and January when that announcement was made. It was like, oh no, what's going to happen now? And now everyone's motivated and fired up and very, very excited about the future. So, great job, Oren. We're going to come back to you because we're going to share a couple slides here that will explain the LifeTouch transformation that Oren and his team are going through. So, Oren, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, as mentioned, 80-year-old company, 650 outside sales reps, haven't grown organically in 10 years. That's kind of a problem. And being the vice president of sales, I had to start looking at new ways to transform ourselves. Sent a couple people from my team out here last year to really start investigating, other ways of looking at selling. And I came up with this slide, in order to really explain to my team at our national meeting coming up here in a couple weeks what we're doing. So Pursue, in my mind, at LifeTouch has been, we've been doing that for 80 years. It's a one-trick pony, and that's outside sales reps. We're pursuing business. We're knocking on doors. Attract is a new approach to selling, and that's my whole story to my team. Is that, we got to look at everything surrounding that customer right in the middle, and I use the words seeking a moment of interest, because that's really what it's all about. That's what sales is. And we're, if you look at that outer ring around the circle, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but, certainly there's outside sales still. There's inside sales or business development. There's social selling. We've now trained about 350, going on a journey to about 600 people on social selling, primarily using LinkedIn to begin with. Twitter will be next for us, but social selling is a huge part of the whole brand of LifeTouch and our ability to really get our story out there and connect with people. And lead generation and content development. So much in this world today is around that content development and really portraying what your company is all about. So this is a massive transformation for an 80-year-old business that's used to really just doing things one way. And I have a tremendous culture shift to overcome in our field organization to get through that. So Jim pops up a slide here, and yesterday you saw a speaker talk about the funnel. I mean, all of us in sales know about the sales funnel, and you can go back 100 years and see the sales funnel, and that's what it looks like. And unfortunately for all of us, here's the new funnel. We call it the French horn funnel. And, at the bottom of that, I thought this was really interesting. Somebody in our marketing department came up with, or gave me this. I'm not sure where it actually came from, but it's true. If you look at the bottom of it, it says web, company website, events, sales, peers, social, email, digital, all of that stuff. And at every turn, some of those things apply. So, that's the reality all of us as sellers are living with. And the challenge for all of us is to transform ourselves in order to adapt to that to get customers.
Yeah. And you're transforming your sales force, right? The face-to-face kind of direct sales force you're bringing inside, right? That's one of the things that is on your initiative.
Like I said, I have 650 outside reps. In the future, I may not have as many. Publicly, I'm not going to really share that too much, what that plan is. But we are just starting an inside sales team and going to market that way. And we've got a team of 4 on our way to a team of about 70 is our plan.
Well, maybe Don can give you some advice on how to handle that. So at BMC, this was kind of a on-premise, kind of old-school, mainframe-based software company for many years that, as Don was describing, is transforming to this digital world. And you've been running inside sales organizations for a long time. At BMC, and you've gone from focusing on application selling to sales and marketing and now to IT. So that's a transformation. You're like a glutton for punishment doing that. But you serve 82% of the Fortune 500, right, with BMC products. So how do you grow that business, and what are the key metrics that drive your inside sales organization?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I failed to actually say that once Bain took us private and brought in new leadership and put money invested into product development and into marketing, and we've had 9 consecutive quarters of double-digit growth. So the plan is to go public within 18 to 24 months, maybe in line with you guys, but given the IPO markets are good. But anyway, that's the plan. So we've made this transformation. We're on a really good trajectory. And some of that is that wave I talked about with companies investing in their IT departments. So we have a huge customer base and very loyal customers, and so we have this renewal business. But where we missed was adapting through SaaS play, and so a lot of that development that Bain is invested in is getting our products to become SaaS-based, which you give up a lot of cash on the front end to go to a subscription-based model. And that's a tenuous type of transition. So the way we've segmented our market, our go-to-market strategy is because we have so many established customers and there's a lot of organic growth that's happening within them, we've segmented our pyramid to the top tier accounts are what they spend with BMC on an annual basis. So it's their SysWallet spend. And so our top tier is a significant amount of annual spend with BMC. The next tier is a little bit less. And so we've got basically 5 different tiers. I'm focused on the bottom tier, which means that there are huge companies, multi-billion-dollar companies that are in my mid-market SMB space because they're not BMC customers and they're not spending this amount of SysWallet with BMC. So that's a great opportunity for me to go out and so we've got this growth with our established customers, right? We're going to get that. And so where the real growth is getting new logos and landing and expanding with some of these big companies. So now we've got the products behind it, we got the marketing behind it, and then we just almost tripled the size of the inside sales organization over the last year for us to now go out over the phone and find all of those new logos out there in huge companies that are not spending money with BMC right now. So that's my complete focus is on, once the average lifetime spend of a customer, we've proven this out, is pretty significant. So, but to get new logo, get greenfield accounts is a lot of work. And so we found that the inside sales process is really the best way to get in there and establish those landing points, and then expanding our product set from within them.
So Don, yesterday we all heard Tony Rodoni from Salesforce. He was talking about trying to take the friction out of the sales process. Like, salespeople are overwhelmed and inundated with all this data. The data's there. It's it's digitized somewhere in the corporations. It's just that there's islands of it, and it's not that easy to access. And you guys are on this digital transformation. So how are you positioning that with your customers, and then how are you driving that for your own sales team so that you can simplify their roles?
Yeah, the biggest thing for us, and the whole category of sales acceleration, really what that means to me is, how is all this technology, all these platforms, all these systems, this whole stack of technology, ultimately at the end of the day, the one metric that matters to me is how many quality conversations are we having. So, the technology that allows me to do pipeline gen and top of the funnel, and then accelerate that through the funnel, using the InsideSales.com platform for calling the right people at the right time and facilitating that process, is just purely to be able to get on the phone and have good quality sales conversations, because that's really the leading indicator for our success. So being able to use technology to just get to those conversations, that's key for us.
And Kent, I'm going to come back to you, because you're in the same space that we're in, called sales acceleration. And one of the things that Tony was talking about yesterday, he had a lot of comments about the death of the salesman. We can talk about that. Number of salespeople declining, and customers being so much better informed today when they're getting into the sales process. They already are 70, 80% down that path. How do you guys see the sales acceleration space, and how are you helping your teams accelerate that sales cycle within your own company, and then how are you positioning that with your customers?
That's a great question, Jim. So we make cloud-based applications, so subscription-based. So that's really great for customers, because if you don't deliver for the customers, they're not going to stay with you. So the first thing that we try to do is we try to ensure that we got a consistent customer experience across our organization. There's like 25 different touch points, and it's challenging. We're not all the way there, believe me, but we know where we want to go. So our CEO has implemented a happy customer program that everyone in our organization needs to get certified on. And the tool that we use to get certified on is a tool that we use for our sales team, right? So it's kind of a roundabout way answering the question. So number one, everyone gets certified on this tool called SalesHood. Now, SalesHood is this tool that allows you to create a presentation or a pitch and have everyone in the company do that pitch, right? And everyone gets to grade it. So it incents people to really do a good job if you know that your coworker is going to grade it. So we initially brought that tool in for our salespeople, because we wanted to make sure the metrics that we track are obviously deal cycle time. Our deals take a long time, 220 days. And it takes a long time for a sales rep to get on-ramped. And we want to take that time down before they do the first deal. So we use the SalesHood tool to make sure that all of our sales methodologies, all our pitches are consistent across the board. And we're able to drive the sales cycle down, drive our on-ramp time down with that tool. And we're able to predict who's going to be a good rep and not a good rep. As far as what we're doing for our customers, we're trying to change their perspective, right? They're focused on the outcome. They want to sell more, and they want to have bigger deals. They don't want to have more reps that make their quota. So we've implemented these new services that we provide our customers, because most of the deals are transformational. They're difficult. You've got to get a lot of people in the organizations online in alignment. So we've got outcome advisory services and a variety of other things that we provide with our customer success team.
All right, so back to Oren here on the sales transformation that you're driving, how do you communicate that to your team and get their buy-in? And then how do you give them the right tools so that they feel like you're investing in them to transform?
Yeah, that's a challenge we're facing. You know, as we enter into this transformation, and you know, like I said, our national sales meeting is in a couple weeks. I'll introduce that slide. We'll talk, you know, about inside sales and lead generation and some of those things. But it's pretty easy, you know, when you can go to a sales force of 650 people and you can kind of look them in the eye and say, we're not growing. We've got to do something different. And you know, LifeTouch is a 100% employee-owned company. So the people that I'm looking in the eye are employee owners of the company, and they would agree, you know, with us that we've got to look at this whole thing different. We estimate that in some recent research that we've done with an outside firm that a school, believe it or not, a school has 30 to 40 vendors a day knocking on their door or calling them, trying to sell them something. And our outside reps certainly understand that challenge of trying to get to that ultimate decision maker, which is a principal or yearbook advisor or something else. So we've got to put ourselves in a place where we have visibility to those people in very different ways and not rely upon trying to get through that gatekeeper anymore. So, you know, we're early on into this, and lots of learning ahead of us.
It's interesting, you know, how do you communicate with your teams when you are embarking on this major transformation? I think back to my career when I was at IBM in 1993. Lou Gerstner came in to replace John Akers as the CEO of IBM, and I'm not proud of this, but I was John Akers, one of his like minions in his office, trying to salvage. You know, I didn't do my job. I mean, it was watching a train wreck in 91 through 93. You know, we were being bombarded in the chairman's office from customers complaining, you know, investors calling up and saying, why is my stock going down, you know, every day? And then employees calling up to do what we called open doors back then because they weren't happy with their leadership and their career growth. And it was a disaster. And IBM had been the same for 75 years, you know, the same leadership kind of process. You womb to tomb. You started IBM in sales, and you work up. And John Akers luckily promoted me just before he got fired, so I got my first executive job, and I'm out there, and now I'm back in the field watching this company that, you know, we had gone from being the most admired technology company in the world to not even being on the list. And so Lou Gerstner comes in and he says, look, I'm not going to mince words. He said, collectively, we've lost $20 billion in the last 3 years. We've gone from most admired to least admired. We've gone from 450,000 people in the company to 200,000 people in the company. Our customers hate us. All of you are upset. He said, is there anyone here that doesn't believe that radical change is required? And of course, no one raised their hand. He said, okay, but the problem is, and he had the senior management group, there were about 250 of us, and he said, there's half of you that are sitting there that will be passive resistant, and you're going to be tree huggers, and you're going to say, oh, I'm just going to stay and kind of observe and, you know, kind of go along with the flow. And he said, I'm going to seek you out, and I'm going to fire you as fast as I can. And he said, there's another third, there's about, of the other half, there's 20, you know, half of that half, 25%, are excited and are like so excited to be part of this change, and you're the ones that are going to be the future leaders of the company. And then there's 25 of you who are ready to walk out the back door at the end of this meeting and say, this is going to be too hard. And it just created, and sure enough, within a year, half the leadership team was gone. He either fired them or they self-selected out. But he made it very clear right from the start. And he said, it's going to be a tough journey. He said, we're going to go down deeper into the trough. And then he painted a vision of what it would look like on the other side of the curve. He said, we kind of had to leap to that new growth curve. And it was a very exciting time, but man, it was painful. And change is hard. It was very different when I joined Salesforce. We were, this rocket ship growing 100% a year, and it was total chaotic growth. And, you know, things were going great. We were closing business and growing. And I had this view that, okay, Mark Benioff hired me to be the, you know, voice of reason. I was like the adult supervision. And he would challenge me. He'd say, well, let's do this. And I'd think, there's no way in my conventional wisdom this makes any sense. So I'd passively resist it, thinking, okay, that was just a crazy idea. He'll forget about it in a couple days or weeks. You come back in and say, what are you doing about that idea? And I'm like, Mark, are you serious? He said, yes. He said, did I ask you to kill someone? No. Is it immoral? Is it illegal? And of course the answer, he said, what the hell? Go do it. And if it doesn't work, we'll switch back. And like 9 out of 10 of these decisions turned out to change the, you know, move the needle in some way. Not always the way Mark may have had it intended at first, but I went from being the passive resistant guy to say, you know what? I have to reinvent myself and enthusiastically embrace this crazy guy's ideas. And so he had this whole theory of change for change's sake versus, you know, the opposite. And it created a lot of uncertainty and unrest, but we never got complacent. That was the whole idea. So I'm sure, you know, you all have these different stories that you were born in the cloud business, Kent, with Apttus, so you know how that pace of change, and I'm sure a lot of your people felt it, and I'll come back also to you, Don, because you went through that from Siebel to Oracle to Omniture to Adobe. But Kent, how do you guys communicate that change and get people to embrace the change? Because that, to me, is important, to let people know that it's never going to be, you know, static.
No, that's the key thing, because through the 10 years, obviously, there's been lots of ups and downs, new competition, new issues, technology issues, different marketplace, different types of applications. So stuff's changing every quarter, right? And we've got an executive visioning program, I guess you'd call it, where every quarter the CEO puts out the top 10 initiatives, and everyone that reports to him has got to have everything that maps up to him that supports those initiatives. And then, let's say for me, the people that report to me, they have to have a set of their initiatives that map to mine, so that everyone is in alignment, that everyone understands, okay, this is the vision of the company. It may change each quarter, but everyone's understanding their role and how it maps to the company's success.
And Don, how about you with some of the changes you've been through?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't change, you die, and I have experienced that. At Siebel, we had this great enterprise system. It was on-premise, licensed software, a lot of cash up front, blah, blah, blah. But we came out with sales.com. We bought the domain sales.com, developed a SaaS-based product because we're trying to compete with this little ankle biter called Salesforce.com, who was giving it away for free for the first 5 users. And so we actually put $82 million into developing a SaaS-based product that was actually really, really good. And my team was tasked with developing pipeline for it. And we built up this amazing pipeline, and we're just starting to close deals. And then Tom decided that, wow, there's a lot of renewal and maintenance business that I'm going to miss out on if we go to this monthly subscription. He pulled the plug. And so we had to pull the plug on everything. And then, you know, Siebel went like this, Salesforce.com went like this, and we didn't change. We didn't adapt. We didn't stay on top of it. BMC was almost a casualty of that as well. We had the same thing with the IT department. Luckily, having Bain come in and we redirected in time, we spent a lot of money on development to come out with these SaaS-based products that we're now doing on a see, try, buy basis. And now we're able to compete with some of these SaaS-based companies and keep our market share and then expand because we did make that transition. But I'm telling you, if it wasn't, you know, 22 consecutive quarters of decline, if we had let that go much longer, I don't know if we would still be around or would have got bought for a really cheap amount and wouldn't be the same as where we're at now.
Okay, thanks. We're closing down here. We have a minute left, and just I'm going to ask the panelists, like, what advice do you give to this audience here that will help them in their sales acceleration, sales transformation efforts? So, Don, you want to start?
Yeah, we're all out here. The vendor booth has got all kinds of great technology, the platforms, the systems. It's all about the stack and but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's still about the people. And if you don't, you can have the best stack of technology that just can absolutely crank in process and productivity, but if you don't have the right people on board, the right DNA, it's worthless. So I still emphasize the fact that you need to hire the right people, and that's been my focus, and then giving them the tools to allow them to succeed, which is why I need you guys.
Oren, how about you?
Yeah, don't be afraid of change is my advice. I'm always looking at things and trying to fix them. And the second piece I would say is, as a leader in a sales organization like mine, is I need to model the way. I need to engage myself in social selling. I need to do these types of things so that people know that it's real. It's not an event. This is going to be
by
part of our
example.
culture going forward.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Kent, bring it
Pretty-
home.
Pretty similar. I steal something yesterday from Tony Rodoni, right? Figure out where you want to go, right? Figure out where your goals are and go there fast. Select business partners, technology providers. Typically, I think the ones that provide more on their stack and obviously great expertise to get you there. Because if you start now, you get a better chance of getting there. And obviously, like my co-panelists say, be open to new ideas.
All right. Well, let's thank our panelists here. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. All right. Thanks.